On USA Today at 2.
Bloomberg Small Business is brought to you by Network MCI. Because today the question isn't why or when, it's how you can get modern communications technology working for your business.
First of all, I think there's too many forms to fill out. Second of all, I think many things can be simplified, especially in payroll taxes, income taxes, and other reporting venues.
Funding would definitely be of help. Education, which I am finding that there are some good educational resources out there, and I think that to continue affirmative action, and not take it away would be something that's very important for women and minorities.
Well, there's a certain amount of regulation that's involved, but I don't see it to be onerous. I mean, I think if the SBA was actually more liberal in the types of things that they did, that would be advantageous to a lot of developing businesses.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bloomberg Small Business. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
And I'm Bob Goldshaw. On this week's show, we'll meet a successful small business family forced to swim through some rough waters to keep their old-fashioned antique shop afloat.
We'll check out the latest in the self-help industry, where we'll see some of the new faces and products getting in on the action.
The United Kingdom is a hotbed of small business enterprise, and we'll take a look.
But first, a report from the nation's capital with the latest in the congressional regulatory reform battle.
After languishing for months, Congress has finally passed and the president has finally signed regulatory reform. Washington correspondent John Wardock sizes up the impact on small business.
It has taken some time, but Washington has gotten around to reforming some regulations affecting small business. As part of the debt limit debate late last month, the Congress passed and the president signed into law a measure giving small business more say in the regulatory process. The legislation features three key provisions. First, it lets business owners recover legal fees amassed when doing battle with federal agencies in court. Second, it puts teeth in the Regulatory Flexibility Act of 1980, which asks agencies to consider small businesses' special needs when issuing rules. And third, federal agencies must now get input from small business regarding proposed regulations. John Gallus, who heads Washington's oldest small business advocacy group, helped lawmakers draft these changes.
We've been angry. We've spoken through the Reagan administration, through the Bush administration, and now the Clinton administration about the lack of responsiveness by the federal government. Now the federal government is finally opening itself up to small business scrutiny from the outside, and we're pretty excited about this opportunity.
One of those federal agencies affected by all these new reforms is the Environmental Protection Agency. Long considered a gadfly on the back of small business, the EPA is now forced to try to improve its relationship with private entrepreneurs.
At her office in Washington, the head of the EPA welcomes these reforms, believing they will only help.
I think that it's very fair to say that there was a point in time when the approach to environmental compliance was one size fits all. If it worked for this size facility, then it should work for any size. What we've come to appreciate in the last couple of years is that one size fits all will not allow us to do our job the way we want to. We have to recognize the inherent differences between a large industrial facility employing 1,000 people and a small business employing 10 people.
Already, Browner's agency has reached out to small business by cutting 1,400 obsolete rules, by reducing substantially the time it takes to do paperwork, and by streamlining 70% of the EPA's remaining regulations. And Browner says there are more initiatives underway.
An example would be the compliance assistance centers, where a business owner can come in and get the kind of hands-on advice that he or she needs to ensure that they're meeting public health standards, that they're doing everything they can to protect the air that they and their children breathe, the water, the land.
So far, the EPA has set up two such centers, one in Kansas City, Kansas, the other in Champaign, Illinois, and has two more on the drawing board. I'm John Brock, Washington.
After the break, a look at the latest small business headlines.
And we'll visit a successful antique shop with some unique ideas.
You know the best way from Terminal A to D in Frankfurt. You know not to plan a business meeting in Rome on August 15th. Everyone's on vacation. You know the fastest calculator in Osaka doesn't need batteries. And now you know the best way to fax virtually anywhere in the world from your business or home office. Only MCI One Fax assures you you'll never have to resend a fax or pay for incomplete transmissions. MCI World, for citizens of the world.
What does it feel like in the new Club World tilting cradle seat? What does it feel like to go through Club World fast-track arrivals in London?
You know, FedEx and the Dream Team have a lot in common. They're fast, we're fast. They've got moves, we've got a few moves of our own. We both spend a lot of time in the air. They get called for traveling, we travel when we're called. They're masters at gravity-defying, slam and jam and foul line done. Well, okay, so they got us there. FedEx, proud sponsor of the USA Basketball Dream Team. Neat, huh?
To grow stronger, America depends on its bounty, both natural and man-made. Finding new ways to get these goods to market more efficiently and reliably is the noble pursuit of Norfolk Southern, the thoroughbred of transportation.
Regulations at the local, state, and federal level can hold back small businesses. And in fact, there are a number of industries where it's almost impossible for a small business to start because of government regulations. And those regulations need to be amended, adjusted, so that small businesses can afford to fulfill those regulations.
We have been very happy to get grants and SBIRs for running our business and growing our company. The federal government, in my opinion, can encourage small businesses to flourish by continuing to fund such efforts and make available both funding and other resources for small businesses to grow.
Let's take this chance to catch up on the Small Business Update. If you want to do business with Uncle Sam, you'll need to know about recent changes in the laws affecting how small business owners sell products and services to the federal government. A new 50-page guide published by the SBA provides all the information you need. For a free copy, call the SBA's Office of Government Contracting and Minority Enterprise Development at 202-205-6460.
The National Federation of Independent Business is urging small business owners to support a new bill designed to clarify the definition of an independent contractor. Senator Christopher Bond, a Missouri Republican, introduced the bill in mid-March. It has strong support, including a thumbs up from Senator Bob Dole. Bond said sorting out the confusing laws affecting the use of independent contractors was the top priority among business owners attending last June's White House Conference on Small Business.
The Credit Union National Association reports lost, stolen, and counterfeit checks cost financial institutions and businesses $10 billion a year. The association has these tips to avoid check fraud. Don't print your Social Security number or driver's license number on your checks. This information could help a thief access your funds. Write and sign checks with dark ink that cannot be erased. And always shred or tear up canceled checks, ATM, or deposit slips to keep them from falling into the wrong hands.
SBA Chief Phillip Lader is asking Congress for $800 million to run the agency in fiscal 97. That's up from the $715 million allocated in fiscal 96. The additional money will help fund a record $11 billion in loan guarantees for small business owners. The budget request includes more money for small business development centers, the SCORE counseling program, and the agency's export assistance centers. And that's the update for this week.
In commerce, it's not unusual to see two similar businesses offering similar merchandise. But when that happens, it can cost a business customers and cash, and someone's going to be the loser. Jane Applegate visited one antique business forced to react.
Brooklyn's Atlantic Avenue attracts antique lovers from all over the eastern seaboard. The shops that make up Antique Alley have been coming and going for decades. One shop that's weathered recessions and expansions, vogues and vagaries, is City Barn Antiques. They keep the inventory fresh by keeping ahead of the trends.
We start with one style, and it seems to be in vogue for a while, and then it has a way of cooling off. Times change, people change, things change, and other items start to look good. So we sort of key into that and go with it.
Going with the flow has been Steve Gertz's style since he opened the store in 1970. He began selling oak and Victorian pieces then. In the 80s, he switched to modern, settling on Haywood Wakefield, a sleek American-made brand popular in the 40s and 50s. By the 90s, Gertz was ready for a sabbatical. He turned the bulk of the business over to his son Harris and his girlfriend Brenda Bennick. They kept the ball rolling.
When we came into the shop, we brought it back to 50s furniture, and it seems like I was given the gift of predicting the trends from my dad.
Soothsaying aside, the family pulls together, putting in long hours. Steve, Harris, and Brenda all do everything, but Steve does much of the buying, Brenda keeps the office running smoothly, and Harris enjoys the hands-on side of the shop, spending about half his time restoring and reupholstering these used beauties. The beauties, fabric, lamps, and furniture, come from other dealers, from private collectors. Some are even bought online. To the wholesale rate these pros pay, they'll add a markup, just like any other retailer. Of course, part of the game here is haggling. They set prices, but yes, like the merchants of Marrakesh, they expect to bargain with customers. And while there are bargains, high-end trendy furniture doesn't come cheap. Single pieces sell for $400, others for $3,500. City Barn keeps in touch with its motivated buyers. The shop boasts 3,500 loyal customers on its mailing list. Like most retail operations, the antique business depends on equal parts of momentum, serendipity, hard work, customer service, and a taste for the trend to come. In Brooklyn, I'm Jane Applegate.
When we come back, we'll meet an expert on the business of consulting.
And is it much different to run a small business, maybe yours, in the UK? We'll have some answers for you in just a moment.
Internet MCI puts you in touch with Bloomberg Small Business. Visit us at our website, www.internetmci.com/BloombergSB, or email us at bloombergsb@internetmci.com.
I travel all over the world. I love to fly. More remote regions of Asia. In fact, I'm probably a professional packer more than I'm a professional photographer. So when I'm on Northwest Airlines, the plane becomes my home. One of the reasons I like to fly world business class, it's more spacious, it's more comfortable. They communicate much better than home. Nobody brings me tea in bed. As a photographer, I know that when I wake up, I'm going to be someplace wonderful. This is my way of life.
FedEx has over 35,000 trucks to handle your two-day package. Cost about $12.
UPS has over 130,000 trucks for your two-day package. Cost about $6.
The U.S. Postal Service has over 200,000 trucks for your priority mail 2 to 3 day package. Cost exactly $3.
So, 12, 6, 3, what's your priority? Priority mail from the U.S. Postal Service.
That's right, my friend. Giant man-eating goldfish.
Sorry, darling, it looks like sushi again tonight.
My first objective is coal and electricity, the key to energy. Next, cities. Cities mean buildings, and buildings mean bricks and cranes. Then roads and highways. To build them, I need asphalt, concrete, and aggregates. Finally, trash will answer to me, because I will own the plastic to make the garbage bags.
Sorry, old boy, the people I work for have beaten you to it.
What? The Secret Service?
At my age, don't be very silly.
Well, who then?
Why, Hanson, of course.
Oh, Hanson.
What do you suppose is eating him?
That great new printer you bought has a part missing. The paper. Get Hammermill, the paper that works.
Federal government can make businesses make the running of a small business easier by cutting back wherever possible on the amount of paperwork that small businesses have to engage in, the proliferation of regulations that small business people have to pay attention to. If you are a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 person shop, you can't possibly dedicate the time and energy to all of the things that you have to stay on top of for government and regulatory reasons and run your business at the same time.
At least in the travel industry, if they would stay out of regulating what we do, I just don't think it's an area that the federal government needs to be involved in. Certainly they could lower our taxes. That would make me very happy.
An old joke defines a consultant as the guy you take to lunch, he tells you what to order. Jane Applegate has a fresh take.
It seems like every out-of-work executive thinks that they can set up a consulting practice, but it's not that easy. Alan Weiss is a management consultant and author of $1 Million Consulting. Alan, can everybody make $1 million consulting?
No, I'm afraid not. Only the chosen few, as they say. But a lot more people can do it than they think.
What are some of the tricks of the trade?
I think there are 3 basic things you have to remember. Number 1 is, what's your value added? What are you bringing to the client to improve the client's condition that someone else doesn't have? The second thing is, you have to charge for your value. Consultants who charge by the day or the hour are nothing but commodities. So you must charge by value. That's very important. The third thing is, you have to be passionate about what you do. If you don't have a passion for the work, don't get into it.
And how do you figure out whether your passion has a value in the marketplace?
Well, the best thing to do is to start talking to potential clients and see if what you've got is what they need. I'm a generalist. These days you hear you should specialize or die. You know, I believe you should generalize and thrive. You don't want to foreclose any buyers. So be as broad as you comfortably can be, and let the buyers and you collaboratively decide if they can use you.
If you are the product, isn't it a little tough to sell yourself as well as your expertise? What suggestions do you have for marketing your services?
This is a relationship business, and the way to look at it is, how do I establish a trusting relationship? If you can establish a trusting relationship with a potential buyer, and you're sure you have a buyer in front of you, a lot of consultants spend time with people who can't say yes and can say no. So guess what they say? They say no. If you can find the real buyer, though, and develop a trusting relationship, you get conceptual agreement on the outcome of the project. Fees are academic.
That was my next question. How do you set your fees?
I establish 2 things, one with the client, one personally. The thing I establish with the client is, what are these objectives worth to you? If we increase sales, if we decrease attrition, if we improve morale, if we improve safety, what is that worth to you as a going concern? And I try to get the client to help me put an estimate on that. The second thing I evaluate is private. What do I bring to this proposition? What do I bring to the equation? In other words, why me, why now, why in this manner? If anybody could do this work, it's not as valuable. But if relatively few of us can do it, it's very valuable. If there's great urgency, it's more valuable than if it's not. Based upon those things, I determine what this project is worth to the client, and that's the fee that I assess.
And if you have no idea what the going rate is, can you ask other consultants, what if I'm just starting out and I don't know where to begin in terms of setting a rational, reasonable price?
Well, you have to be somewhat careful about the antitrust laws. That's why if you go to a consultants association meeting like the Institute of Management Consultants, they are very careful never to discuss fee structures because they don't want you conspiring to set fees in the marketplace. You're better off asking clients, and you're better off asking clients things like, what do you expect this will do for you? What's the value to you? You see, if you set your fees based on other fees, you're narrowing yourself. You have to set fees based on client outcomes and client perception of value.
Right. We're going to have to stop there. Thanks, Alan.
Much like the U.S., nearly 50% of all private sector employment in the United Kingdom is in small business. And like the U.S., the dramatic jump has taken place within the past 10 years. But what areas of business are hot? Is there a lot of bureaucratic red tape? Are loans readily available? Well, we asked Ian Peters, who manages small business for Britain's NatWest Bank.
The
two main reasons people start up in business in the UK are to gain their independence, and about 1 in 3 will use that. Secondly, it's seen as a way of making lots of money. 50% of all private sector employment in the UK is now in small firms. And that in itself is about 50% greater than it was 15 years ago. So there has been quite considerable growth. During the 80s, the Conservative government gave a lot of encouragement, both politically and in tax terms, for people to start up small businesses. And we did see very fast growth in the 80s. Through the recession of the early 90s, obviously there were quite a number of casualties and the figures dropped down. But it's now been recovering in the last 2 or 3 years, very slowly, principally for 3 reasons. Running a small business is still seen as the best way of gaining your own independence. It's seen as attractive in terms of making money. And yes, a quarter of them are now backed by redundancy money in some shape or form. We have got a regional economy in the UK, so at the present time, the Midlands, broadly speaking, is more buoyant than either Wales or the South West. The one area where we probably do see special incentives is where there is European Union money coming into the UK for regeneration activity. It is true at the moment that certain sectors like agriculture, telecommunications, the professions are doing very well, whereas construction, retailing and the catering trade is having a weak time. If you talk to the vast majority of UK entrepreneurs, they would agree with their American colleagues. Red tape and tax come as number 4 and 5 on their big list of problems, after lack of sales, cash flow problems and late payment of debt. So yes, it's the same on this side of the Atlantic. The UK government has made much effort and talked a lot about deregulation, but I have to say the impact has not been great. We've just completed a piece of research which would say, as of today, some 8% of small firms' turnover is taken up in complying with red tape regulations and the tax regime. We recognise there are special needs in understanding a small business, and they are very different, and it requires a special consideration. They're also very important from the economic point of view. Overall, steadily positive.
A look at the self-help industry. It's targeting a new market. We'll tell you all about it.
You know the best way from Terminal A to D in Frankfurt. You know not to plan a business meeting in Rome on August 15th. Everyone's on vacation. You know the fastest calculator in Osaka doesn't need batteries. And now you know the best way to fax virtually anywhere in the world from your business or home office. Only MCI One Fax assures you'll never have to resend a fax or pay for incomplete transmissions. MCI World, for citizens of the world.
What does it feel like in the new Club World tilting cradle seat? What does it feel like to go through Club World fast-track arrivals in London?
You know, FedEx and the Dream Team have a lot in common. They're fast, we're fast. They've got moves, we've got a few moves of our own. We both spend a lot of time in the air. They get called for traveling, we travel when we're called. They are masters that gravity-defying, slam and jam and foul line done. Well, okay, so they got us there. FedEx, proud sponsor of the USA Basketball Dream Team. Neat, huh?
Investing your money. What's your strategy? You do have a strategy. Please don't say you just put a little here and a little there. Random investing is a sure way to keep your gains to a minimum. Get some information about Janus No-Load Mutual Funds. Start an investment program that makes sense and stick with it. Stop throwing your money around. Start to think big. Janus Funds.
G'day, out of my way, number one. I don't think they've done enough, actually, for small business. It's been my experience. What little I've dealt with in the government in the way of the SBA, it's been almost impossible. They're almost impossible to deal with. It's been my experience. I think they could be doing a lot more to help us.
Many people find the federal government to be very intrusive into the business world because of the many regulations and regulatory procedures and everything else that really are heavy. When the hand should be light, the hand seems to be very, very heavy for a small business. Probably the best thing the federal government could do is more assistance by less assistance.
The $10 billion self-help industry is at an all-time high, making the pitch to everyone from substance abusers to folks interested in changing careers. Now a whole new market is opening up, self-help for kids. And at least one small business is on top of the game. Annie Bergen has our story.
From lost loves to lust, the $10 billion self-help industry is hot. Now, some savvy business people, like Ellie Dillon, president and CEO of Sky Shapers, are cashing in on a new niche in the world of self-help, children.
It's a huge market right now.
And Sky Shapers is soaring. Endorsed by the Surgeon General, Sky Shapers is at work and play in 10,000 elementary schools around the country. The Sky Shaper program motivates children to set their goals on paper and develop a sense of commitment and responsibility.
A real easy, sort of kid-friendly format. It teaches kids how to set a goal and then believe in themselves and have the motivation to go after it and make it happen.
Based on their proprietary cartoon characters, music, and storylines, the centerpiece of the Sky Shaper program is the first motivational organizer and day planner for kids ages 5 to 12. Already, thousands upon thousands of elementary school children are penciling in play dates and homework reminders in their daily planners. But some say all of this responsibility at such a young age might not be a good thing.
The value of play hasn't been maintained, and children are expected to function as mini adults. Children who are structured and organized from a very, very early time are deprived of the time to play, to dream, to not have organization imposed.
If the self-help industry for children continues to thrive, look out for time management for toddlers as the next subject in our kids' kindergarten curriculum. I'm Annie Bergen.
We love hearing from you, so please keep those letters coming. Or, if you prefer, phone, fax, or catch us on the net.
Thank you for joining us on another edition of Bloomberg Small Business.
Be here next week when we'll head to Cuba, where family food businesses are beginning to flower again.
We'll meet an expert who cautions going global isn't always as easy as you think.
And what do you do when your PC no longer makes the grade? We'll have that answer and lots more next week on Bloomberg Small Business. Be sure and join us.
We'll see you then.
Bye, everybody.
Bloomberg Small Business was brought to you by Network MCI. Because today the question isn't why or when, it's how you can get modern communications technology working for your business.